In this video, I'm going to share with you how to help your employees become more proactive and take more ownership for their day-to-day activities so they add more value to the business. There's a lot of founders right now who are very frustrated, and that's the number one issue that I hear in terms of team challenges that is happening is the frustration that founders and leaders have where their employees are not necessarily taking ownership for their projects and they're just ticking things off the to-do list. Some of them are not even doing the to-do list. And today I want to give you a different perspective and different tools on how to shift this within your organization. Now, the first thing that we do sometimes as founders when we have this issue is that we try to teach our team a different tool. So we give them productivity, we talk to them, we tell them how important it is for them to take ownership of things, we tell them all of those different things. And that will often not create long lasting change and change behaviors within the organization because we haven't really created a container to help employees become their most strategic selves in that area and to take ownership of the stuff that they do. One thing that might also be helpful to remember is that as founders we have different motivations and mindsets than do employees. I have been both in the employee side as a chief marketing officer. I've done this for over 20 years. I did it in 4 different organizations. I led teams. So I know what it's like to have the mindset of an employee where you care about different things inherently and a founder. So an employee might really care about security, getting a paycheck at the end of the month, feeling very secure in their job, being able to have some career progression, learning more skills, and hopefully if you hire the right people, they want to add value to your organization. But as founders, we're focused on like the long-term longevity of the business. We're really really this is our baby, so we have this motivation to go the extra mile. It's normal for a founder to want to go the extra mile because these are our babies, so we do 100%, we go 110% of everything. And sometimes it's very frustrating when we don't understand why our employees don't do the same thing. So it might often be useful for us to remember that we have different motivations and that we can actually build something if we build the right container and the right culture, that we can actually affect a lot of change for our employees. Now, I was mentioning that sometimes when people have this problem of like, they come and tell me, well, I find that a lot of our employees are not taking ownership of their projects and they're just taking things off and kicking the ball down the road. And can you do a workshop to fix that? And yes, I can. But if we go to the bottom, to the root of the issue and the mindset piece and the culture piece, then all of those things that we implement later in terms of tools and productivity and processes will be way more helpful. So, what I often recommend is that founders focus on the cultural piece first. Build that container and change the behavior from that point of view. The fastest way to change behavior in your employees, believe it or not, is not telling them again and again what to do or having performance reviews with them, although that's very important and very needed, but it's actually creating a container where they feel safe doing this. Now, a lot of employees might not want to be proactive because they're really scared. One, they might not be very confident in themselves, but two, because they're very scared of taking risks. So they stay very safe and they say, I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3 because I was told to do 1, 2, 3, and yet we're expecting them to do more. And maybe in the past, and we're all guilty of this as founders, maybe somebody took a risk, maybe they went above and beyond, and instead of being met with praise for taking a risk, they were met with maybe negative feedback, or maybe we reacted in a way that didn't help that employee want to take a risk again. So this suggestion comes from a book that is called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. I highly suggest you read it. She's a Stanford professor. She's the one who started the whole mindset movement. She has studied growth mindset for many, many years at this prestigious university. And she talks about the fact that companies that have a culture where risk taking is not penalized are actually more innovative, grow quicker, and make more money in terms of the bottom line. So in terms of culture, something that you can do is one, really check in with yourself and seeing how you're reacting when somebody makes a mistake, and having all of your leaders and all of your founders, or yourself if you're the only founder, really drive those behaviors through building a culture that allows for people to take risks in a safe environment. Now, I am not advocating for you to let people take risks everywhere where you're going to lose money. But if somebody comes up with a new idea and fails, is praising them for actually coming up with a different way of doing things or for take going the extra mile, but not punishing them if they actually don't have the outcome that they need. So if we build a culture where these things are actually inherently built in, that can lead to change a lot quicker than giving somebody a tool. And also then leading by example, telling people, like, instead of like, this week I was working on this particular project. So, and then I went the extra mile this way, something along those lines, because employees do look at leaders for cues on how to behave. This has been studied and proven over and over again. So we do often lead by example. And then the last thing that I wanted to say in terms of culture is actually having this as a value often helps. Be very careful about how you frame this value, because things like radical ownership or things like that might not always land really well. So really look at the language around it. But if you have a value about going the extra mile or that type of thing, it's actually bringing that value out from the closet, because we often just leave our values in the closet. Bring it out of the closet, bring it into your team huddles. If you have a weekly meeting or something, remind people of that value. Say, in this company, it is really important for people to take ownership, and explain to them what that means, because especially your very junior employees will not understand what that actually means. And this can definitely be taught. So just to say, for us, this means every time you have a client, you do your client work first, whatever it is for you, because it is different in different companies. If you build that container first, you give people safety and confidence. And I am doing this because this is like a little box. If you give people safety and confidence, this is the like easiest way to change behavior. Now, if we go to a different level, because I don't want to make this video too long, then we go into the practical level. And at the practical level is giving people very clear direction and understanding of what it means to take ownership. To say, if you kick an item off your, like if you click an item off your list because you think that's already been done, then this is great and congratulations for doing that. And what you should do is then look at things strategically and see if that project has now been completed, and go back and check that things have been completed. So then we go into the actual nitty gritty of sort of the productivity and the coaching around performance that we call it. And then finally, check your processes and your systems, because your processes and your systems might not be really helping people think strategically. If it's a very chaotic environment and people are getting things that are coming from every way, and there's not a lot of structure around it, then they will not even know what it means to take the extra mile, because they will be busy fighting firefighting. So you want to give them an environment where there's a clear line of ownership for different items, and a clear understanding of what it means for that person to kind of take it the extra mile. So hopefully in this video, I've given you just a very different way to think about things. I mean, there's a lot of courses out there in terms of performance and commercially oriented people and taking ownership. I know there's a lot of that, and a lot of that content is incredibly valuable. But what I have observed as I've done this job for many, many years is that if it doesn't land on fertile mindset environment, and if your culture is actually counter to what you're trying to achieve, then it's going to be very difficult to drive change with your employees. And I'm going to leave you with this thought as well. Whenever you want to change a behavior that you see in your organization as a whole, the easiest way to change that behavior is to do it from a cultural and top level down. Your founders, your leaders, everybody needs to be aligned on what it means to drive that behavior. And if you implement this, I can guarantee that you will see at least some change really quickly. I'll see you in the next video.